So many people during the pandemic dealt with anxiety and almost became normal, but you may not know that anxiety disorders are actually the most common mental illnesses in the United States.
According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, anxiety impacts 40 million adults. That's very believable. And now new research has found some interesting things about anxiety. Parents could be passing it on to their kids. That's why we brought in Nine Health expert Dr. Payal Kohli to go through this research, because it's a little complicated, so we kind of want to really simplify this. So it's more about nature versus nurture and this anxiety genetics. Explain that.
Yeah, so we have known for some time, Kim and Tom, that there's a genetic component to anxiety. So if you have one parent with anxiety, your risk, it's one of the strongest risk factors for having it. If you have two parents, it goes up even more. But now what we're learning is that there is a significant nurture component to it. In fact, we're also learning that circumstances, what's happening around us, can also significantly affect whether somebody develops anxiety.
This may not surprise you, but I believe as a child that I caused anxiety.
It does not surprise me.
That is a separate topic altogether.
Yes.
So one of the interesting components about this is you're talking about same-sex parents, fathers and sons and mothers and daughters having a connection there. So is there a genetic component to that, or is that all about the modeling that they may see in their same-sex parent?
Well, what this study from the Journal of the American Medical Association tells us is that if you're a daughter and your mom has anxiety, your risk goes up almost threefold. And the same thing applies to sons and dads. But if it's the opposite sex parent, like daughters and fathers, or sons and mothers, then the risk doesn't go up as much. And if that parent is actually not living in the house with you, even if they're the same gender, your risk doesn't go up as much. So all of this put together really tells us that some of this is the kids emulating their parents and following their behaviors. And that actually, to me, is good news, because it tells us that as parents, we can start to think about changing our behaviors. And maybe
Well, that's what I'm asking you. What do we learn from it that we can take forward? Obviously, I think we always know when you raise children that your behavior is important to the way the children behave. But do you have to recognize your own anxiety to try to make sure that your children don't mirror it, or it's not like you get it like a disease, but something like that?
Very much so. And in fact, it tells us, a lot of child development psychologists have looked at the fact that we've mainly been looking at mothers' behaviors with respect to both genders of kids. But now we need to start looking at fathers as well, and really be attuned to how much anxiety we're giving off in our behaviors, because our children are picking that up.
Okay, just add this to the list of parenting, right? The one job that comes with no instructions, you know? But you're also talking about circumstances, too. Circumstances really play into it. So, I mean, we can't go through life without things that sometimes provoke anxiety. So I guess it's really deciding what you do, like in the case of a pandemic, how you handle it.
That's right. It's really a Venn diagram of the genetics, the nurture, and the circumstances that come together. And so the pandemic has been a big stressor, but there was actually a survey that came out from the American Psychiatric Association last month saying the number one thing that 87% of Americans are anxious about now is inflation. So that's another potential stressor that we're looking at down the line. That's right.
Makes everything tougher. So 988 is this new national phone number, and I think there is such a stronger focus now on mental health, that people are more likely to reach out, or at least understand if they're struggling, and understand that it's okay to not be okay. Tell us about 988 and what you think that might do for the country.
I think it's going to change the landscape of how we think about mental health, how we treat it, and we recognize that it's urgent or emergent at times. So I'm so grateful that it's here now. 988 is the simple, easy to remember number, just like 911, but this is for mental health emergencies of all types, and also for suicides, anyone thinking about suicide, or if you know somebody who might be contemplating it. And you really don't want to think of a mental health problem as some sort of a scar, because it's really our brain's computer malfunctioning, and we just need to get it back in track.
And a chance to model good behavior.
Well, I just wonder,
you know, to your kids.
I think in a year or 2 years or whatever, when they get to study this, I'm thinking and maybe even hoping that there are more calls to 988 than there are to 911, that it overtakes 911 as a call that people make.
Yes.
All right. Well, Dr. Payal Kohli, thanks for helping us through this one as always.